We are in Budapest, and thank you very much to JDC and to the Talmud Hungary for inviting me. Everybody who is watching at home, and I hope all in all we'll have a good hour of learning together. We're going to be learning for an hour, so we'll finish in about 58 minutes. This conference is in Hungarian, except for this particular class, which is actually, in English. There was a little bit of a typo when they advertised the class, and instead of saying this class will be held in English, it will be held in English. So I certainly hope not. I hope that people will enjoy what we have to say. It's an absolutely fascinating topic, and I actually just heard from the can do it interactively, so I'm hoping that people will participate. I'm not going to stand up, I just think it will be, and I'll repeat what people said, but I really hope that people will participate. For those of you at home, I hope that you watched on a link yourself, but we just watched the trailer for The Beauty and the Beast. It's just been remade as a movie. And I want to ask the people over here, what different conceptions of beauty, what different models of beauty or lack of beauty did you see in the movie, in the clip that we just saw? What was the difference between inside beauty and outside beauty? And can people think of examples from the movie that they saw? Anybody? Yeah, go ahead.
The monster who got really gentle, and having very human emotions.
So on the one hand, Gabor said, you have the monster, very monstrous by the way. At the beginning, some of us act very monstrously, and there's sort of a connection between the outside and the inside. But at other times, behaves in very sweet human ways, and as a reward, what happens to him?
He becomes love.
He becomes love. Say again?
He gets Emma Watson.
He gets Emma Watson, exactly. He gets Emma Watson, very good. He gets Emma Watson, human again, and a very good-looking human. Good. So that's one model. What other models do we have? In terms of beauty, in and out of Yugoslavia? Excellent.
Is a model, I think, of a person who is supposedly, I don't know how they see it that way, but some kind of French beauty, kind of like masculine beauty, but seems like very mean. And
yes. Excellent. So Slavian said that Garçon is sort of a French beauty, male beauty, if you will, but inside is not a particularly nice person. And two more models that we have, can people think of them? One is Emma Watson. Slavian, since you seem to be into Emma Watson, I hope your girlfriend isn't. I hope your girlfriend isn't watching.
Who is not?
Yes, that's true. Slavian said his girlfriend knows not to worry. Yes. Colin?
I'm sure you'll get into this.
Please, go ahead.
I'm struggling with an idea that because someone is nice, that's a model of beauty. Like the idea that you can transpose the two terms. Well, that's a model of nice, more loving. That doesn't make it beauty, unless we simply want beauty to mean a whole bunch of things that are people being nice.
Great. So Colin has gotten exactly to the point. He said, why are we conflating nice and beauty? So in a very, very rough and ready way, and we're going to unpack it later and get much more subtle, don't worry, but in a very, very rough and ready way, Belle, Emma Watson, who is beautiful outside and nice inside. We have the Beast, who at least in the beginning of the movie, is ugly in terms of how we normally think of beauty. He's ugly on the outside, person inside. We have Garçon, who is a hunk on the outside, who's very nice looking, but who's not such a nice person. And finally, we have the father. We have Belle's father, who is not ugly, that he's old, is physically old, but he is a nice person inside. So really we have 4 different models if we were building up. We have so much going on today, I didn't want to bring a blackboard in as well. But if we were to do it on the board, we would have 2 different sides, nice, not nice, good looking, not good looking. And that is something that the movie presents to us. So I want to go to the Babylonian Talmud and look how the Talmud plays with these same different concepts and what they come up with. I'm going to be concentrating. I think people should share. Source sheets, and those of you at home, I hope you have source sheets that you've pulled up. I'm going to look. My models are going to come today from the rabbis speaking about themselves, about their own beauty. There are 2 reasons for it. One is I personally just find it very, very interesting what it means when men talk about each other's beauty. I find that a very, very fascinating concept. Though I think that when the rabbis speak about women, it's very, very often projection of different ideas of their own, whereas when they speak about themselves, I think we get a deeper understanding of what they might be saying. So everybody happy? Everybody see what we go? We're going on a journey. It's a complicated journey, by the way. This is not an easy subject. It's not an easy subject. It's a complicated journey. We're going on a journey, and let's see where it takes us. Any questions or comments before we move on?
This concept of beauty is also connected to the objects in the film.
What's your name?
Portrait.
Portia was saying that in the movie, we also see the concept of beauty on the objects, on the kettle and the nugs. You want to say a bit more about that?
The whole idea of cuteness, how they're represented as pets, almost as animals. This idea of uniquely nice, cute, and acceptable.
Yes. Oh, I mean, this is so rich and so deep. Portia was saying that the cup and the clock and everything, they're very, very cute. And there's almost this niceness, this cuteness, that in order to be cute, we should be nice. When they become human beings in the end, spoiler alert, they become human beings in the end. When they become human beings in the end, I think we relate to them very, very different. We relate to them very, very differently. There's a lot here. We haven't defined yet what it means to be nice. We haven't defined what it means to be beautiful. And we're going to leave it undefined now. And the first story that we read, it's in the number 1, it's in Talmud 7a. We hear about a rabbi called Yoshua ben Hananiah, who was very, very ugly. And a daughter of the Roman emperor comes to speak to him. By the way, the Talmud loves to do it. I don't know how many times the rabbis actually hobnobbed with Roman daughters of emperors, or but they always love an outside question on the non-Jew from the outside, who of course asks very, very wise questions. So she says to him, woe to glorious wisdom such as yours, which is contained in an ugly vessel. She says, you're such a wise man. Why is it that your beauty is in such an ugly vessel? And this is very, very much the idea of beautiful inside, beautiful outside, that a beautiful outside of God will be beautiful. Yoshua ben Hananiah says to her, what does your father do with his wine? Does he keep his wine in beautiful gold and silver vessels, in clay vessels? And she says, no, he keeps it in clay vessels. So she goes to her father, and she says to her father, we'll put them into gold and silver vessels, and he does, and they go sour. Back to the rabbi, and Rabbi Yoshua ben Hananiah says, Just as she said to Rabbi Yeshua ben Hananiah says, you see what happened? The wine turned bad. And he says to the emperor, that the same thing applies with people. In people who are ugly. And the emperor said to them, of course, now the emperor gets involved. You know, we've got the whole royal family involved in the Talmudic debate. That there are handsome people who are learned. And Rabbi Yeshua said, had they been ugly, they would have been even more learned. Okay? So all of you people who, you know, all of us in our room, who are not only good looking, but also very learned, just think if we were ugly, how much better things would have been. I always say to people, a text is saying something and it's doing something. If I come into this classroom and I say sit down, I'm telling you to sit down. What I'm doing is I'm achieving control over the class and telling people who is the boss of the class. For those, I didn't do that. For those who know it. What is this text doing? We know what it's saying. But what is this text doing? What is the agenda of this text? Yes. Well, yes, Slavian?
Maybe to guilt the good looking people into learning even more.
Wow, that's nice. Slavian is saying to guilt the good looking people to learn even more. You know, like
console the bad looking people.
Excellent. I think I've forgotten your name. Kata, I did that. Kata is saying you're one of the organizers. Kata is one of the organizers of this wonderful festival. Saying it can console the ugly people. By the way, I think a lot of that is going on. A lot of that is going on over there. Anybody else got an idea of what this text is doing? I think what's going on over here. Colin? Yes, Kata.
It's trying to suggest that that the interior is much more important.
Yes,
than the
excellent. Kata said the interior is more important than the exterior.
And now I'm just beginning to think, is the text actually saying something truthful? Is there anything actually truthful in it? I don't know.
What do you mean by truthful?
As in, intrinsically, is there anything about whether you are perceived as ugly or you changes something about the way you learn?
Correct. So Colin is asking about the truth question. Is it true? It could be, by the way, if we were to go to the truth idea, people who can't rely on their good looks to get ahead need to learn more.
We're discussing, started this video yesterday, and what I said is that in my perspective, when I see somebody who, for example, is a guy who is buff and very muscular, that to me sometimes is simply that he might not be very smart. But I think this comes to a very practical reason. In life, we have limited time. If you have spent most of your time in the gym, working out like 6-7 hours a day, and after work, you don't go to study in the library or learn something new. The seminar, you go to the gym for hours and hours on end. More learning. But if you, let's say, you're very good looking, you're all that around the girls, and every time another girl asks you out, very hard life, and you don't have time to learn something. You invest your time in different things.
Slavian is saying, I'm sorry for people who have to wait a little, but Slavian said something very interesting. He said, if you're very muscular, we're talking about men now, if you're very muscular, or even if you look really good and have spent a lot of time on your appearance, it might show that that is what you're spending your time. Everything I think people say is true. It's interesting that Slavian said, because Slavian always teases me about being a little too philosophical, so you can be able to tease me more. I think what's going on over here is a radical rejection of the Greek idea of the beautiful mind and the beautiful body. It's not only saying that isn't true, but it's almost going to the other extreme. And it's saying ugly is better. It's true they're good-looking people who are learned, but if you were ugly, they are better. And I think this text is an example of a fanatic or extreme revolt. The idea of athletics, of the worship of the physical, the Tosfot, who are medievalists, they're a little bit shocked by this. And even they say, well, it's not beauty itself, but it's the attitude to beauty that is important. Here, I think, on the one extreme is an extreme example of anti-beauty, anti-aesthetics. Sometimes I don't know people, there's certain ultra-Orthodox Jews who, if you go into their home, nothing aesthetic in their homes. It's all absolutely what is needed. Sometimes this is because of money, because of poverty, but sometimes it's because there's actually an anti-aesthetic story is very, very different. It's one of the juiciest, richest stories in the Talmud. I see people are smiling. It's one of the juiciest, richest, and it speaks about Rabbi Yochanan. Was what's called in Hebrew the Chatif, the really the cute, handsome man in the Talmud. What made him handsome was that he was fat and that he didn't have a beard. So there's hope for us all. But and the Gemara speaks about how beautiful he is. And then they say, if he was so beautiful, people who are beautiful, the beauty of Rav Kahana is like the beauty of Rabbi Abahu. The beauty of Rabbi Abahu is like the beauty of Jacob. The beauty of Jacob is like Adam, and the beauty of Adam is like God. Is Rabbi Yochanan not in this? And it says because he didn't have a beard. For the rabbis, the beard was a symbol of masculinity. It was a symbol of humility. A new idea being brought in over here. By the way, this is very much my reading. There are hundreds of readings of this, but I'm using one particular one. In fact, if it was another class, I would use a different reading. But I think they're bringing in that idea of, is there a Jewish aesthetic that is different from the Greek aesthetic? Whereas the Greek aesthetic is muscular and, by the way, almost boy-like looking, and we're going to get to that in a moment. The Jewish view of masculinity or of beauty is a man with a beard. And then we have, any questions? I've thrown a lot at you, actually.
The Greeks were mainly homosexuals.
Yes, yeah. So we're going to get to that. This is a very important. On the one hand, I think people all know this. When we're talking about Greeks, we're not necessarily talking about what the Greeks really were. We're talking about how the rabbis perceived the Greeks, how we perceive the Greeks, but we're going to get to that in a moment. There was a very common, whether it was a normal model, really, I don't know, a relationship with a young boy of some kind that would be a sexual relationship who had not yet maturity and was very effeminate. And here we have one of the fascinating stories of the Talmud. We have the story that Rabbi Yochanan, before we get there, Rabbi Yochanan would go and sit outside the mikveh where the women went for their monthly immersion. They would see Rabbi Yochanan, and hopefully they would have good-looking children, just like Rabbi Yochanan. So to have a good-looking child was important to them. But then we have this famous story. Basically, Rabbi Yochanan is swimming, and along comes Reish Lakish. Who is Reish Lakish? He's a bandit. He is a highwayman. We have every reason to believe that he's strong and muscular, almost a Jewish goyes, what the Gentile is, or what the outsider is, strong, masculine, fighting. And what happens? Rabbi thinks that Rabbi Yochanan is a woman. And he jumps into the water. Man. Another time we will do the homoerotic reading. It's definitely there. I think this is a powerful, Daniel Buyar and other people read it like this. I think there's a powerful homosexual scene going on over here. And what Reish Lakish said, he looks at him. Reish Lakish looks at Rabbi Yochanan and says, "Your beauty for women." And he says, you're beautiful women. Not philosophical, just when Rabbi Yochanan says, when Rabbi Lakish says to Rabbi Yochanan, you're beautiful women. What do you think he's saying? Which means what?
They're like as beautiful as the human needs to be.
Yes, absolutely. One thing he could be saying, I think sometimes happens with men, they say, oh, he has such nice eyelashes, or he has such nice hair, it's wasted on a man. One thing he could be saying is, women should be as beautiful for you, it's a pity that you're a man. Women should be beautiful for you, or excellent, he could be saying you're very feminine. Wow, good. I didn't, Juja, who is another one of the wonderful sponsors, is the head of that. No, I've been getting advertisements for everybody. Don't worry, business cards will be handed out later. I'll probably be kicked out of Global Day for this. Juja said is impaired. You know, today, if you say, even today, I don't know who he is, where some people might be more open about these things. If you say to a man, you know, you really should be a woman, I think there's something else that could be being said. You're beautiful women. Yes, it could certainly be saying you're wasted on Torah. This is such a pious group. Oh my goodness, we need to get a little bit of piety. Anything else?
Man is pursuing.
Yes, he's pursuing him. I'm actually going to go back to Colin because I think you're in the direction. Great. Colin, you're wasting on Torah. What should you be doing? Absolutely. I think another thing is your beautiful women could be saying to him, come and be with me, and we will go and pick up some nice women tonight. Saying, what are you busy learning Torah? So comes back Rabbi Yochanan. He says to him, your strength for Torah, your strength to study Torah. The way I'm reading this today, and I admit that there are other readings, but the way I'm reading this today, different Greek ideas of beauty are coming together. Your Reish Lakish, the masculine, muscular, strong one, and beardless, fat, which we all laughed about earlier, but fat means you have curves. And you're more like you're more like a woman, yes? So, say again?
You also mean that you're rich.
Great, yes. Okay, so what's your name? Peter. What Peter said, it could also mean that you are rich, and there's definitely something about it. In fact, what precedes this in the Gemara, which I didn't bring because it's just so hard, is a talk about how fat the rabbis were, and each one, and then actually talking about their genitals. It's a very fascinating issue, what size it was and everything. It's like a complete fascination with each other's bodies, and there definitely is an idea that you could be rich going on. The way I'm reading it, just for today, types of beauty, of Greek beauty, the strong one and the boy, and they become disciples exactly like they would in Greece. What's it say? What Dennis said, they become disciples of each other. In fact, this is not my idea. Reish Lakish is in some way the good-looking baby of Rabbi Yochanan. Like he was outside the mikveh. Reish Lakish is everything that Rabbi Yochanan isn't. Rabbi Yochanan, in terms of beauty, Rabbi Yochanan is everything that Reish Lakish isn't. And they start learning Torah. In this little piece, something incredible happens. All that happens is that Reish Lakish agrees to learn Torah. He loses all his strength. He wants to go and get his swim across the river, but he can't do it. What do you think is going on over there? I know I'm doing a lot of stuff fast. What's going on over there? The moment Reish Lakish just agrees to learn Torah, he suddenly loses his strength. What do you think is going on over there? I mean, a lot is going on over there. Gabon? Oh, sorry.
I just.
Yes. There are lots of former students of mine watching.
Not
And they
so
will,
much from a Talmud. He was this testosterone-driven
yeah.
male figure, and then he becomes more of a let's consider this and that, and look at all.
Beautiful. I just say he was. Sorry, I'm just doing it for just because of the video. I'm interrupting you. Testosterone, crazy man who jumped into a river because he thought he saw a beautiful woman. It's excellent. You've given a scientific explanation for it, which I've never thought of before. All he has to do is agree to learn Torah, and it goes down a calm individual. Slavian.
Again, why, as you say, it's impossible to combine these two traits in one person. You either have one or the other.
Beautiful. Sorry, I'm going to be interrupting people a little bit just for the video. Slavian said, it's proof that you can't be both. You can, and have learned, you can either be one or the other.
For me, it's more of judgment.
Yeah.
There is judgment from either side. Either you're beautiful or ugly, and he was judged, and then agreed to study. So it was somehow not voluntary.
Great. So Dennis is saying it's either or. Involuntary. The rabbi's view of a man was somebody quiet, who studied Torah, or not quiet maybe in the sense of, not quiet in the sense of not talking, but quiet in the sense of not being active. And I think what the story is saying is you can have two different ideals of Roman beauty, of Greek beauty. What's important is that you learn Torah. Substitute to learn Torah. So we have number one, right, which is saying ugliness is good. We have this text, which I think is saying two things. One is it asks, is there a Jewish definition of beauty? And number two, it's saying, it's fine to have these Greek ideas of beauty. What's important is that this needs to be subsumed, this needs to be buried in the learning of Torah. So what's important is to take the beauty and almost subjugate it, I think is the word I'm looking for it, to the learning of Torah. Questions or comments, or if anything isn't clear, before we move on? Okay. The only thing I want people to remember is there was somebody called the Rabbi who was very good looking. We're going to come back later. And now let's meet another very, very good looking rabbi in the Talmud, Eli. He was so good looking that guess what? One day a Roman woman came by. Surprise, surprise. And again, it's not surprising that in this issue, he is so beautiful and his face is so glowing that she says he must be a moneylender or a pig farmer, because those were the two jobs that you really earned a lot of money in those days. And she said, or perhaps you're drunk. And he said, no, it says in Kohelet, a person's wisdom makes their face shine. Rabbi Yehuda ben Eli was this very good-looking man, and they write in Shabbat 25b, this was the custom of Rabbi Yehuda bar Eli. At noon, they would bring him a bowl full of hot water. He would wash his face, his hands, and his feet, talit, and he would then look like an angel of God. And over here, I think, definition of beauty. It's beauty that comes from service of God. Even though he's a good person, like the angel of God. And I think what we have over here, the Greeks worshipped beauty. The Jews took beauty and used it to worship God. And Rabbi Yehuda ben Eli's beauty isn't from his physical beauty only, but that he uses it for God. So we have four ideas basically. Beauty is bad. Is there a Jewish view of beauty? Fine. but really it should be subjugated to Torah. And the fourth one, there is a Jewish view of beauty, which is about service of God. Ladies and gentlemen, would it be fun to stop there? We've got four, I can see, I'm looking at people's faces. It's fascinating to be a teacher. I'm looking at four people's faces, and some people are saying, that's a really beautiful idea, I love it. And other people are saying, isn't things more complicated than that? Well, he's religious, so he is going to say that after all. I'm seeing. So I would love to stop there. And I actually thought of it, to be honest. But I think it's more complicated than that. About you and me, or maybe I'm just speaking about me. How concerned we sometimes are, how concerned, I'll speak about me. I'm often amazed at how concerned I am and how I look. How I'm sometimes on a diet and sometimes exercising and sometimes not. How many times I looked into this on the side, jersey on, jersey off, from the chest, and then from the chest, but then they don't see the whole thing. But if they see this and they see that I have a little bit of a tummy, I really could have been rather studying a little more. With these four ideas in the background, I'll say it again. Beauty is bad. Jewish view of beauty. Greek views of beauty are fine. They need to be subjugated to Torah. And the fourth one, true beauty is not only on the outside, but also who you are and how you behave. Look at the problematics. Questions, disagreements, agreements. I'm going to ask the people in front of me. And then we go on. I know there's a lot of stuff. I know this is a lot of Talmud, but I think it will be worth it for you to just hang in there for another 25 minutes. Any? Good. Okay, let's go on. Rabbi Zera is not a good-looking man. His Zera means short man. He was a complicated person, as was Rabbi Yochanan, as was Reish Lakish. And he wanted to prove that he could overcome Gehenna. So he fast so that the fires of hell could not get him. To prove that, he would get into an oven and sit inside it, and the fire would not affect it. Who is that able to do this? Is it Hindus that do that?
Yes.
Fire walking. Something like Hindus do nowadays, fire walking. Bulgarians, Hindus. Yes, so in Bulgaria they have Nestinas, which are fire
Not only
dancers.
Bulgaria, but
So if anyone's listening in Bulgaria, a little bit of local culture, thank you, Slavian. Anyway, one day the sages get upset at him. How rather evil eye, his legs become burnt, and from then on he has lots of nicknames. The short one with the burned legs, they call him the dog burned one with stubby legs. The rabbis did not really like Rabbi Zera that much. He was almost a Chabadnik of his time. He would hang out with the thieves and the bandits and love them and care for them. But he is seen as an ugly man. Look at this next one. Look at this next one. I find this fascinating. The Yerushalmi, this is the Jerusalem Talmud. This, by the way, is my own idea. Up until now, I've been teaching stuff that I've learned from other people. You can look at all their wonderful bibliographies at the end. This is my own idea. It could be right, it could be wrong. So Rabbi Zera was a dealer in flax. He was Dennis over here. No, I said I'd give everybody an advert. Dennis told me he's in Schmatters. He's in flax is fish tan. It's a fiber. It's like to Rabbi Abahu. Remember I told you to remember who Rabbi Abahu was? Rabbi Abahu is the one one mentioned in the previous Mara. He goes to Rabbi about, it's actually hard to teach this. When you teach other people's ideas, okay. But when you teach your own, you really want people to hear it. So we have this man known for his ugliness, going to this man known for his, and he says, how much am I allowed to improve how my flax looks? When I sell something in the store, and we all know that stores do it, they put things on models, the apples, they put all the nice apples on the top, they polish things. I shop at 2 supermarkets, one very cheap and one very expensive. And I know that in the expensive one, all they've done is polish the fruit. It's the same fruit, they've just polished it, and it costs much more. He says, how far am I allowed to go in doing this? So I just want to set the scene. Maybe I'm being overly dramatic. But you have this man known for his ugliness, speaking to a man known for his beauty. How much am I allowed to improve how my goods look? It could be a simple halakhic question, but I don't think so. I like to say, when a person comes to you and says, is my chicken kosher? They're not really asking about the chicken. They're asking about themselves. They're asking, am I kosher? Am I religious enough? Am I good enough? And you might expect, with the very, very strict laws in Judaism about gnevat da'at, of stealing one's mind, you might expect Rabbi Abba to say, no, making things look better. Instead, he says, avidma da'atayada. Do what you know. Do what you're used to doing. It's permitted for you to make your flax look better. It could just be a straight halakhic thing that's going on. But I think what's going on, minimally, is Rabbi Abba is saying, minimally, it might not be as maximally as I said, but minimally, I think Rabbi Abba is saying, we live in a world where people do look at how good-looking people are. And all of us know about studies where we found that students who are good-looking do better than students who are not so good-looking, and people have put photos on tests, and people have marked differently. A study where they gave the same exam paper to different teachers with different photos on it, and when the students were perceived as better looking, better grades. We know how, I am sometimes nicer to people who are better looking. That's the reality. The Bible says, even if it's just talking about flax, the reality is people are swayed by how something looks. Comments until we look at the last one, up to now, which you have listened so carefully. Do you disagree a little bit? Do you want to share?
No, I just had a feeling that they didn't have any ways to get the right side.
They didn't have any way to what?
They didn't have the right side. They didn't, if somebody didn't have the right side,
Peter's actually saying something very interesting. He said that they probably didn't have very good eyesight in those days. Today, I think it's sometimes ridiculous that he wasn't sure whether Rabbi Yochanan was a man or a woman. How could that possibly be? In those days, things were very different. First of all, as you said, people didn't see as well. But secondly, women worked, and women and men, their lives were so much more physical. That women actually probably did look very, very different. I mean, this is not hundreds of years ago, but it was very, very poignant for me when we got married, when my wife and I got married. I gave her my late grandmother's wedding ring, and it must have been double, because my Boba was from Eastern Europe, from Lithuania. Sorry, not from Hungary. She was from Lithuania. She came to South Africa. It was different times. She spent her life washing and cleaning and cooking, doing all different, in a much more difficult way. And I think, Peter, you're very right. The aesthetic was different then, and what people had the ability to see and not see was very, very different in those days. Anything else? Gabor, do I see a hand up there? Your name again? Pocha, yes.
This will be a little bit sarcastic, this comment.
Pocha suggesting it's sarcastic, yes.
So what you know. Rabbi was known for being ugly
Yeah,
and not getting anywhere with his looks.
yeah.
To say to him, do what you know, it's not working anywhere.
Very, very interesting. In rabbinics, you have something called pshat and drash. Pshat is the actual meaning. Drash is a exegetical, like an explained meaning. Somebody I know says the real difference is pshat is what I think, and drash is what you think. But Pocha suggested something beautiful, which is minimally drash, but possibly the pshat. And she's saying there could be something sarcastic. This good-looking man is saying to this ugly man, do what you know. Like, has ugliness really helped you till now? Like, look at your experience, it hasn't worked. Maybe you need to make your flats look a little bit better. Or maybe it won't make a difference, correct?
Or it also can be that he just simply makes his homework, he knows which rabbi to ask, in order to receive an answer he wants to receive. He wants to do the maximum to improving his growth. So he goes to a person who is beautiful, and supposedly will tell him that he's allowed as much.
Gabor, this is Gabor, who teaches at one of the day schools. Very young and very, but also that's really cynical. He said something brilliant. He said something, well, in my eyes, brilliant. He said, to this day, in the religious world, it's called heter hopping, trying to find the most lenient opinion you can find. He's saying maybe, I'm changing it just a tad, maybe Dafka, Rabbi Zera went to a good-looking rabbi to ask this question, because he knew it was more likely that he would get the answer that he wanted. Beautiful. Peter.
Excusing the question, I mean, yes, but am I allowed to improve Facebook? Do you think he will start about himself and not the flat?
Yes, that's what I think. I'm giving like a Freudian reading. Myself and not the flats. But even if he's talking about the flats, let's say he's talking about the flats, let's say that I'm like, you know, academic, woolly liberal, who's giving like this cute little, even if all he's talking about is the flats, he's still saying that it's permissible to make the flats look better, which is talking about that looks are important, and in a system in which not cheating is very important. This is very interesting. Let's move on to Ketubot, where all the people we've met, and all our, except for Rabbi Yochanan, all the characters come together. When Rav Dimi came from Eretz Israel to Babylon, how they sing before braid in Israel. They say, you don't need eyeshadow and you don't need rouge. You don't need to braid your hair. I find this completely fascinating. They say you don't need it, but they have a very good list of what a woman might put on herself in order to look better. It's like saying, you don't need the latest, well, I can't do it. You don't need the latest Armani this, you don't need the latest Louis Vuitton that. I hope I'm not aging myself completely. I see I am. Just help me, please. Somebody help me. You don't need the latest watch or whatever the case might be, but they happen to already know what is going on, which shows that beauty was important to them. And I'm sure, by the way, that these brides were wearing all these things. Even though they say you don't need it, I'm sure they were wearing all these things. When Rabbi Zera, our Agru, Rabbi Zera, was ordained, when he became a rabbi, they sang the same song to him. In the feminine, they said, you don't need rouge, you don't need eyeshadow, you don't need beautiful hair, you're beautiful the way you are. What do you think is going on? Bullying. Say more, Slavian, and then Pocha.
it seems like good, like he's known to be not good looking, probably has a complex about it.
Yeah.
It's not really nice for him to hear that, and yet they sing to him how beautiful he is, which is obviously mocking him and bullying him.
Slavian says it's mocking, it's bullying. Very rarely that happens with me. Usually I'm a lot less nice than the people that I'm teaching. A little nicer than as somebody. It could be bullying, it could also just be teasing. It could just be teasing. Slavian saying there's very little difference between it. Yeah, fair. Poncha?
I still might be sarcastic or it might be a very spiritual beauty.
Yeah. So I think Poncha said it's right, and it could be sarcastic, teasing, mocking, making fun of him, like Slavian said. Or it could be saying to him, you have an inner, it could be, you have an inner beauty. We know that you think of yourself as ugly, but you're not. You're absolutely beautiful. I know that this is too much to go into, but in this whole business with mind, Bialik, and what you did say and what you didn't say, and if people don't know what happened, basically, she said something controversial about the Me Too campaign. She said is, I was all right because I was this ugly, overweight actress. And somebody wrote and said, no, you weren't. You were beautiful. You are beautiful, which I would put her with Emma Watson as Slavian. What they're saying to Rabbi Zera, don't think of yourself in this way. The same way as mine, Bialik said to herself, I was this fat, overweight girl. So too, Rabbi Zera, don't think of yourself this way. Beauty isn't about skin deep. Beauty isn't about what you look like. You are a beautiful person. Watcher?
Why list all the physical attributes?
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah, no, so it's
Sorry, I just want to repeat for the thing. Potter said, very nice, David. You can say that. Very nice, David. That then they would have said that. You are a beautiful man, inside and out. They wouldn't have said la 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 ya la la ya la la proper rouge and you don't need no I should yes.
So going back to bullying, I think the more important thing is that sure they sang this person was ugly, but because he got a song that is for brides and for women. Women are not brides.
Yeah.
So it's for me it's much more on the bullying side.
Yes.
And I wouldn't say humanity, but it's like devaluing.
Great. So just for people listening at home, Peter and most people there seem to feel that it's bullying or teasing. For once, I'm going to be a little nicer and say it could be that this was playful, or that it could be playful, or it could be their way of saying how beautiful it is. Listen to what happened when a bow goes by. Now, a bow, they know, is very, very, a bow, we know, is very, very good looking. And what do they say to him? And they say to him, candle of illumination, blessed is your arrival in peace. They don't tell him that they're beautiful. What they tell him is that he is wise. Candle of illumination means he is wise. What I think is going on over here is they're saying to him, you're not garçon. Some people may look at you and think that because you're so good looking, you're not deep inside. You are both. And then we have Rabbi Yehuda ben Bar Eli comes. Just for people to know, yes, I didn't get the story first and then look up at the rabbis. This happened totally naturally. I started doing the research and suddenly I found this piece which had all the rabbis, I mean, I knew the piece before, which had all the rabbis in it. In other words, I'm trying to say it really is something natural. It isn't that I like force the text to go in a certain way. They said Rabbi Yehuda and Eli would take a myrtle branch and dance before the bride, and then another rabbi would also dance and then he would chuckle. And what happens then is Rabbi Zera says, this is too much. The old man is humiliating us through his conduct. He's demeaning the Torah and the Torah scholars. So let's look very quickly at what is happening. We have Rabbi Zera being teased or praised using bride language. We have Rabbi Abahu being told that he's good looking and he is wise. And then we read about this good looking rabbi who dances before the bride. All three of these, I think, are saying two things. One is, we do take note of beauty, and two, it's complicated. Two, that it's complicated. And I think, well, again, Rabbi Zera says, the old man is humiliating us through his conduct, he's demeaning the Torah, and the Torah scholars. Rabbi Zera, the ugly man, I think what he's saying is, sometimes we can take this beauty a little bit too far. Sometimes we can, it's all very nice to dance before the bride, it's all very nice to speak to people in a certain way. Sometimes this can all be taken a little bit too far. I think what this last text speaks about is the complexity. Yes, beauty, like I said in the nice one, beauty can be used by Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai. It can be used to dance before the bride and to make the bride and the groom feel good. Yes, Rabbi Abahu is able to be good looking and a very, very good person. But I think it's saying a little bit, you know, there are many, many reasons given for breaking the glass at the end of a wedding ceremony. Originally in the Talmud, it happened because the wedding ceremony was going out of hand. There was too much dancing, not ceremony, the party, too much dancing, too much singing, too much frivolity. And one of the rabbis broke a glass, or a jug actually, and said, let's calm down. I think what Rabbi Zera is saying is, yes, beauty is important. Yes, we do take note of it, but it can be taken a little bit too far. What I presented today, I hope, is that there is not one Jewish view of beauty. It's a gamut. From the rejectionists who say, better off, you would know more if you're ugly, to people like Rabbi Yochanan, who say the beauty is good, but it needs to be used for Torah, to the messy in the middle. To the messy in the middle, which is what we just looked at, where beauty is important, and we admit that we're human beings when we look at it, but don't take it too far. But it's not just beauty that's important. Rabbi Zera was a complicated person. Rabbi Yochanan was a complicated person. I'm not going to go into it now. But he and Rabbi Zera came to a very interesting end, where neither of them behaved the way we would expect of Torah scholars. And Gabor, right at the beginning, said that the beast was ugly, but had some very beautiful human qualities, humane and human qualities. Beauty and the Beast is a classic European folk tale, which Disneyland took. That was a good Freudian slip. Hollywood, but it might as well be Disney, and Hollywood, but Disney movies took and made it simpler and simpler and simpler. Belle, like people said at the beginning, Belle, beautiful inside and out. Garçon, beautiful outside, but not inside. Father, old on the outside, but beautiful inside. A lot of sympathy for the beast. We're finishing now. I have a lot of sympathy for the beast. I actually think the beast is as close as this movie gets to a complicated character, where somebody is ugly and beautiful on the outside, and ugly and beautiful on the inside. This may be pushing it back just a little. I would like to say that that is what the last part is saying. Both outside and inside is a little more complicated than Hollywood usually is. Thank you very much. Sorry I went over time. There was their hour, an hour.